on the continent and for us, rather than just focusing on talent, because you train talent in order for them to be able to find jobs. So having a summit, Africa Forward Summit, then the conversation also needs to be about how do we bring jobs to Africa when it comes to AI. And I think that I haven't heard a lot about it, and it's obvious because we need to train talent, but we do have talent. And so what kind of partnerships can we develop that could enable us to create jobs around AI? I think it's something that is very important. We talked also about governance, and the issue of governance. I have various concerns with regards to governance. Number one is that we hear a lot of conversations about governance, and at the same time, we cannot, as Africans today, control our data. And it's a real issue. I don't want to name one major country, but if you read the press the last month, it was all over the press how one major country came and to sit with individual African countries to have access to their health data. And so, and then the question is, we sit in this forum, there is no standard to transfer for data exchange. And I think that having conversations around governance, we talk a lot about data privacy and so on and so forth, but we also need to build infrastructure that can enable for safe data exchange, and I hope that we do that collectively as a continent. And last comment is, and I can't finish, I need to say a few words about partnerships. We have great partnerships with some of the countries. Obviously, with France, we have good partnerships. With the EU, we want to develop more. We've done quite a bit of work in the past with the US, so we are very open to having multiple partners, and our goal is really to develop a sovereign AI. I think it's extremely important, but through partnerships and conversations with others. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Minister. The Minister for ICT in Rwanda, Honorable Paula Ingabire.
Your Excellency President Duma, Excellency Ministers, business leaders, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to join you today and also to share greetings from President Kagame, who couldn't make it for this roundtable. To begin, I want to thank Kenya and France for hosting these important conversations, but particularly for this roundtable as we talk about artificial intelligence. All over the world, what we see is that artificial intelligence is promising to foster innovation. Yet, I feel for many of us about artificial intelligence. However, we know that AI has the potential to be an equalizer economically. In Africa particularly, the digital economy is expected to exceed success. Right now, Africa's biggest asset is renewable energy as a potential. I want to commend, and I see Hardy in the room and Strive Masiwa for the work they've been doing in building Africa's first AI factories. And as always, financing is central. Africa's startup ecosystem raised about $5 billion in 2025, but this is really a fraction of what is needed to invest in our young talent. Particularly for Rwanda, we have done, we put in place our national AI policy and strategy. We can see that over the next 5 years, it should contribute about 5% to our GDP growth. We are prioritizing, building AI for agriculture, healthcare, and education. But similar to many countries, and starting with Togo that has mentioned skills, we're also prioritizing building the right kind of skills and AI literacy that our citizens need. So today, in today's roundtable, the consensus is that Africa should not be a passive consumer of AI, but a co-designer of systems that are aligned with our priorities. And moving forward, I'll end with 3 things that we need to invest in. Number 1 is infrastructure. We welcome the various initiatives in this domain, whether it's the AI clusters that are being built across the continent, among others. The second one is skills. Africa has the world's youngest population. We need closer links between companies and the schools. And third, which many of the speakers that spoke before me spoke about, is governance. AI must serve the public interest. This means urgent action on online child protection, algorithmic bias, and digital rights. I'm confident that with these conversations and many that we've had in the past, as a continent, we're moving in the right direction. I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Minister Paula. I'm now giving the floor to Minister Rafat Indi, Minister of ICT of Egypt.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to be with you today in Kenya. It is closely linked to the future of our economies, digital sovereignty, and the position of our countries in the global economy. Across Africa, we are seeing growing efforts to develop national AI policies, governance framework, and innovation ecosystems that ensure AI supports the continent's development priorities. In this continental AI strategy adopted in 2024 was an important step toward building a shared African vision based on development, capacity building, and data sovereignty. Ladies and gentlemen, Egypt believes that the main challenge facing Africa today is not a lack of talent or ideas, but limited access to advanced computing infrastructure and our continued dependence on technologies and models developed outside the continent. Therefore, Egypt has been working on the Arabic large language model, which reflects our efforts to develop AI systems that better serve our language and local needs. Egypt is also using AI in sectors such as education. Government also strongly believes in the importance of building connected African innovation ecosystem that bring together governments, the private sector, universities, entrepreneurs, the real driver for the continent's future. Distinguished guests, the future of AI in Africa should be built on a unified African vision, balanced partnerships, and fair access to advantaged digital infrastructure in order to achieve inclusive development based on our own national priorities. Egypt looks forward to working closely with all African partners to achieve this vision. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. I think what's striking to me is that the conversation we're having really resonates with the exact reason this summit has been bringing together. Yesterday, President Ruto talked about how we're not looking east or west, we're looking forward. And I think that's what we're trying to achieve here. And strategic autonomy. And the reason why I think both our president wanted to have this discussion during this summit is that AI and digital are at the very heart of this strategic autonomy. And all the discussions we've had on the challenges but opportunities we're facing here on the continent, we would have exact same conversation in Europe, because 90% of the models we're using in Europe are also not coming from Europe. Into the private sector, because I think all the needs, requirements, vision we've heard from governments, the best way to answer to those needs is actually to work together with the private sector across all the value chain. I heard talking about AI to Jean-Pascal Tricoire, the CEO of Schneider Electric, to talk to us a bit about energy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellencies. Thank you for being here. Well, Schneider Electric is engaged in most of your countries. Our job is electrification and digitization to the service of buildings, infrastructure, industries, and of course, data centers, for which we have become the largest supplier in the world. Thank you. Yeah, then we're going to change microphone, right? So I would insist on one thing today, and you said it. Number one, our job is AI. As we develop AI in mission-critical application, we are focused on developing industrial-grade AI, which has no hallucination in hospitals, in refineries, in airports, making sure, and with utmost data privacy
for customers, because what we deal with when you deal with the physical world are mission-critical applications. Now, my plea here, we have thousands of people, including manufacturing and engineering in Africa, is that we need more data centers in Africa. For everything you say, data sovereignty, data privacy, but more so, I would say, the ripple effect of AI in any other industry. Everything we do in industry will be impacted by AI. And if we don't have a local AI with the right latency and with the right privacy, then Africa, as well as Europe, will be cut from this next evolution. And at the moment, we are speaking about 400 to 500 megawatt in Africa. The US is in the tens of megawatts. I'm planning to move to the next steps. So here, this morning, we are challenged by President Ruto to make proposals, and I will go with proposals, take it as the will to collaborate and to do more together. But I would say to do that, we need more data centers, simpler processes, accelerated permitting, so that we can really put them in your countries close to the application. The second thing is, and you said it, more energy. And Africa has tremendous advantage. It's a bottleneck, but it's also a tremendous advantage of Africa. In Kenya, geothermal, clean energy powers the data centers we do with our partners here in the country. I want to commend what we did in Egypt, what we are still doing, in the largest and smartest grid in the world that Schneider is doing, and we are leaders in that sector. We do the same thing in Senegal so that we can use better the electricity which is available. And I want to mention the necessity of freewheeling also in the organization of energy, so that people who install data centers can produce their own energy in another part of the grid, which gives the flexibility of development. I want to comment smart grids. There is not only one big grid, there is also the capacity to make decentralized grids. And globally, this challenge of electrification is something which is important in the whole continent. I want to add that probably two enablers of all this would be localization of industry. We at Schneider want to collaborate with local players on collaborate on technology so that most of the value which goes into the data center is produced in Africa by those partners. And I want to come back on what was said before, the importance of human capital. This is not business as usual. This is a revolution of our generation that changes all methodologies. We want to do like we do today. We are signing a contract or whatever collaboration with the University of Nairobi. We want to do that not only with universities all over Africa. We have the structure to do it, but we want to do it with vocational schools, because we need people fit on the ground to take care of those new infrastructures which are extremely sensitive. So we see it as a fantastic challenge because of the need for fast growth. It's within the next 5 years, but at the same time as an incredible economic and knowledge opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And as Clara, I think, underscored, I think both President Macron and President Ruto have been very clear that we need to invest across the entire stack. And it's interesting you're bringing in talent even in an energy conversation. And in my head, I also had you will be thinking about Botswana. Mr. President, I'm giving you a T here because he's talking about universities in Africa. So hopefully, as chair, he would benefit from your announcement in terms of how you engage his country also in signing with universities in Botswana, because I think in the AI race, it's not about Kenya. And this is why this is Africa Forward. So encouraging all countries to look at Africa. We are just convening, but we are convening for the continent. The next topic, I think, is something that all of us hold dear. We can talk about an AI economy, but if people are not connected, it will be sad. We know beyond electricity, I think 600 million Africans plus are not connected on electricity. This region alone, only for 24% are connected onto the internet. This East African region, it is the least connected region in the world per capita. And so the next topic, of course, CEO of Eutelsat, Jean-Francois, you have the challenge.
Eutelsat, we're a satellite operator for more than 27 years. We are broadcasting VOT signals over a lot of continents and over Africa. In Africa, we are serving with our media partners more than 60 million households, which are watching TV using our satellites. But we are also, indeed, and that's the link with AI, providing connectivity with our satellites, with a satellite called Connect, and more importantly, with a low-orbit LEO constellation called OneWeb. We're having 650 satellites which are providing very high broadband, low latency services. Just to name our very famous competitor, we are competing in that field with Starlink. We are European, Indian, UK capital-owned company. And today I want to stress the project we are having here in Africa, which is about people and digital divide. We are actually having connected in Africa with local partners in a number of countries, more than 1,000 remote villages, with a dispositif which is pretty simple. These are solar panels, batteries, a satellite antenna, and a Wi-Fi router. This is enabling to build actually a Wi-Fi bubble in areas where classical telcos, I'm looking at my friend of Orange next to me, where classical telcos are not going. And we are pretty proud about the success so far of this project, where we have connected 1,000 villages across a number of countries, and this is being used by more than 1.3 million people. I'm very happy to announce today that we have decided to extend this actually project to multiply tenfolded the number of villages we would connect with, again, a lot of local partners in different African countries. We are aiming to connect 15,000 villages, and that would represent an additional 3 million people connected. This is quite an heavy investment, which would bring the investments of Eutelsat on the continent at an amount of 75 million euro in the coming years. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. So we've talked about energy and connectivity. We would like to go next to the CEO of Amina Kadkalot to talk a bit more about infrastructure and modular data centers, because once we have the energy and the connectivity, that's probably what we need next.
Thank you, Mr. President, local ministers, Your Excellencies. And thank you. Maybe just a word about my company and what we do. We transform data, African data, into intelligence that governments and private sector can actually act upon. And we also deploy modular data centers so that all countries can finally own the infrastructure that they need. Today, I want to talk about three things which are, for me, coupled: the data, the infrastructure, and the talent. And I agree with Minister Lawson, the talent can't be mentioned without jobs opportunity. So a lot of work has been done in digitization, but we realize that if you have beautiful data pipelines, but you do not have the critical infrastructure to keep your critical data in your country, you are open to less than sovereignty. So yesterday we were extremely pleased to announce a partnership with Foxconn and Bull. Foxconn, which is the largest data center manufacturer in the world, and Bull, which is one of the state-owned French enterprise, to deploy a new generation of modular data centers that is built for the African context, that is energy efficient, that can be deployed anywhere within 12 months, and that can grow with the country's need. This is the first time that Foxconn is opening their supply chain to Africa, and they are doing so through and with partnership of an African company. And I think for us, this is what the new partnerships and the new generation of the relationship between France and Africa has to be. The second one is around really generate value, economic value locally if there is no job creations and the skill to know, where we will be contributing to building the leading Francophone AI talent and really empowering a pipeline and create jobs that can operate the local infrastructure, that can build on the local infrastructure. And all of this goes towards creating an ecosystem. We had already done a lot of work the past 3 years to train talent. We had trained 15,000 data scientists in 42 African countries. And now we're extremely glad to formalize this with a university, and we are opening this to more countries across the continent. I'm going to end with one thing, which I think for us, there is a generation of African AI talent that is here. There is a generation that is homegrown, that has been building for years, but there is also a generation that is coming back after spending most of our time working for big tech companies, including NVIDIA. So we need you to trust us, because we have this future in our hands, and we will do whatever we need to make sure that Africa is not left behind. Thank you.
Technology always fails in a technology meeting. Thank you so much, Amini, for that announcement. But just to put it into context, Foxconn builds 46% of iPhones in the world and 50% of AI servers. So it is not a small announcement by any size. Let me quickly transition to Minister Mahefa, Minister for Digital Development, Posts and Telecommunications from Madagascar.
Thank you. Mr. President, Minister, distinguished colleagues, I would like to share our thought for the three pillars, the infrastructure, talent, and governance. Our proposal is simple. Africa needs an African AI sovereignty framework, not to isolate ourselves, but to give Africa the capacity to choose, to build, and to govern its own digital futures. For us, this framework should rest on 4 concrete pillars. First, it's been said, the African AI infrastructure. We need regional data centers, sovereign cloud capacities, affordable compute. Without compute sovereignty, there is no AI sovereignty. Second, the Africa data value retention. African data must create a value in Africa. I think we cannot repeat the old model where raw resource leave the continent and value is created elsewhere. Third, African language and the culture in the AI. AI must understand Malagasy, Swahili, Yoruba, Arabic, and all African languages. A language excluded from the AI risk, exclusion from the digital future. Fourth, African talent and mobility. We should create an African AI talent corridor to allow researchers, engineers, startups, and students to move, collaborate, and build across the continent. To make this real, I propose 3 actions. A Pan-African AI Compute Alliance to pool resources and build, share regional AI cluster, a continental responsible AI charter based on ethics, cybersecurity, inclusion, human rights, and cultural diversity. And the last one, an AI Africa AI fund to support startup, research, infrastructure, and open source Africa AI's models. Africa must not either the AI era fragmented. We need continental coordination on the infrastructure, the talent, the governance, and innovation. Africa must move from digital dependencies to digital partnership, and the global AI governance cannot be legitimate in Africa if absent from the table. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Minister. I have to remind the group that we have to finish at 6 p.m. to hear the closing remarks from President Ruto and President Macron. So we're going to have to keep it crisp and short. I'm now moving to Frédéric Pascal, Vice President for AI of Université Paris-Saclay, because we talked a lot about talent, and I think you can tell us a bit about talent.
Thank you very much, distinguished President, Ministers, Ambassadors, colleagues and friends. Hello. So I'm very happy to be here today in Nairobi, and actually it's the second time because I was here last year in this convention center for the launch of the National AI Strategy in Kenya. So it's really a pleasure. I'm representing University Paris-Saclay. It's the 5th university in the world and the 2nd in mathematics. And I'm also representing here the 9 AI cluster, the French AI cluster, that are the 9 center for excellence in artificial intelligence in France. And today, with 7 African partners to start, we are launching officially the Africa Forward clusters, so a network of excellence supported by INRIA, a national French agency, and the 9 AI cluster. As the director of one of these French AI cluster, I really believe that this is the right model that represents the most effective way to create a true continuum between high-level research, training, and including executive education and industrial innovation, so creating a real ecosystem. And this initiative, it's also will provide some access to infrastructure. It has been mentioned, infrastructure, but I want to say, it has been said before, but AI is not only infrastructure. We talk about infrastructure, but there are data, and we commonly say that data is the fuel of AI models, but data comes from the society, reflects the society. So for us, when we talk about AI, about those clusters, it's really about the people everywhere. And for that, including the people, we want to train the next generation of talent. And this generation, it starts by scholarship, a program of mobility, scholarship. So we are working on developing such a program. And again, something already mentioned, we are talking about reciprocity. So mobility is for students from Africa to France, but from France to Africa, and also inter-African clusters. So I'm very happy to announce those elements, and I will try to go fast. The last thing is that we talk about talents, but all the society has to be trained in AI because we are in a digital world, and we propose to share a gamified platform that is called Brevet AI to train any person to use properly AI in this world. Thank you very much.
You can see Clara and I are really pulling our hair. For everybody else, please stick to the announcements. The room, I think, is sold on AI, is sold on everything. I think we are fine. Let's just stick to the announcements. And we have a fact sheet that we are generating, both of us. You can be as detailed as possible there. For now, let me quickly transition to Karim.
Excellencies, hi everyone. So I'm Karim, I'm the co-founder and CEO of InstaDeep, which is an African AI startup. I'm also the co-chair of the Africa AI Council here with my colleague Yasser. And basically, like I think we already gotten like lots of insights. So I'll try to add a bit more perspective on what is truly important. And so with InstaDeep, 12 years ago, I started literally with this dream that until we sold the company 2 years ago, still the largest tech exit in African history. But today, innovation is not enough. Yes, we need to educate, but really like infrastructure and compute is the extraordinarily important. To give you perspective, compute is the most concentrated strategic asset in history, more than oil at its peak. Right now, China and the US are roughly between 80 to 90% of world compute. Africa is around 0.2%, so we must act. And I welcome all the announcements and all the discussions that were there before. But then the question is, why is it so important? Well, it's important because I'm also an AI researcher. Basically, what has happened the last 6 months is history. We are reaching artificial general intelligence. Like you said, Excellency, like the systems are now so good that they can do any task and do it extremely well. And this is why US and China are moving so fast to get those capacities. And this is why, as Africans, as with our European partners as well, we need to seize this historic opportunity to get it done. Now, the interesting thing, and this is a fact few people realize, over the last 200 years, the most important industrial input was always outside Africa. And for the first time, it is in Africa. Compute actually has a natural home in Africa, like we said, with renewable energy. And this is how AI will scale. AI will scale in solar. This is also a risk, because if we don't move in the next 3-4 years, people will just go to space. US is already talking about going to space. So we must act. So concretely, what needs to be done? Well, very simply, the problem in many cases is actually not money. We don't need public money. What we need is acceleration and incentives from governments. For example, 7-year zero-tax incentives for people building critical infrastructure such as renewable energy plus data centers, because those data centers are extremely compute hungry and energy hungry, and they cannot use simply the electricity available. We don't have enough already. And the second thing is actually creating a regulatory sort of sandbox to move much faster. The UAE, for example, is a great country at doing regulatory sandboxes. So it's all about deploying. And so if we seize this opportunity, which is historic, which is going to disappear in the next 3-4 years, if we seize it now, well, we can do something that is extremely inspiring. I was this morning at the main conference. Yes, I just wanted to say the refinery of the next century, which is AI with GPUs and the like, we must build this. And to conclude, in the next 24 months, the decisions that we collectively make will mean that either Africans will be purchasers of intelligence. We don't have too much time. Let's get to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Karim. I'm now giving the floor to Anil Diallo, the CEO of Ingrid, and reminding you, so we're not going to be able to hear everyone from a few years.
Thank you. Good afternoon, good evening. I'll try to be as crisp as I can. I'll start with the statistics. In the world, there's 1 person out of 10 who does not have a secure identity, not to mention access to digital whatsoever, unable to vote, unable to go to school, unable to... We now have solutions. I'm Agnès Diallo. I'm the CEO of Ayn Group. We are a French leader in deploying digital infrastructures for digital identity as well as physical identity. We're proud to be serving many leaders in this room already. Minister Ingabire didn't mention the push on digital identity, but we are proud to serve Rwanda, Madagascar as well. And Minister Lawson mentioned how important it was for Togo's future. Now, around the data around digital identity, there is the notion of sovereignty. Here again, I want to claim that we have solutions. There are now technologies that allow us to work and to be able to provide everything you need to not fight a very large country in the world who want to take a hold of your health data. What to do? This morning we were called on to what are the important elements. President Duma, you remember a few weeks ago we met and we discussed this. I think the first thing is leadership. And then finally, partnership with private sector like ourselves. We're very happy to be able to contribute. And I'm very proud to announce that today we're actually joining forces with Nigeria to build the new digital knowledge to all of your service. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have just been signaled that we're out of time, but let me recognize Cassava. Hadi, please stand. I will make your announcement for you. Orange, chairman couldn't make it. For now, we have to transition quickly to President Santos, then hand it over back to the chair.
Thank you very much. I'm here as chair of the elders. With 2 elders, former president of Ireland, Mary Robinson, and Denis Mukwege, who's a Nobel Peace Laureate from the Republic of Congo. We have identified a series of existential threats. And in the last years, we included AI as an existential threat. And very recently, in March, with the same humility that the President of Botswana approached this meeting, we convened a group of experts, among them Ambassador Tigo in the UK, to learn and to see what we could do about AI. And we issued a call to action to governments to manage AI with an urgency that reflects both scientific evidence and public concern. There is nothing inevitable about how AI develops. Who it benefits and who it harms is a shared global change, not a race between a handful of countries or a handful of companies. African countries have rightly recognized their responsibility to help shape the trajectory of AI development. However, you must act urgently and in concert with other Global South countries, middle powers, and the private sector to impact. And my humble advice as a Colombian from Latin America is to join forces with Latin America. We are in the same boat with the same fears and with the same cause yesterday. That underscored that AI sovereignty is not about isolationism, but about countries and regions taking strategic decisions. Is AI agency and a joined-up approach to AI governance. We have no chance of resisting AI hegemony if governments do not work together. And we should alert to false narrative together. And we should alert to false narratives that suggest governments cannot or should not regulate. Governments cannot or should not regulate. Such as a narrative like technology is moving too quickly. AI development, not only in terms of safety, but also in infrastructure, in environment, skills, and jobs. Finally, for AI to be a great equalizer, governments must step in and stakeholder forum to build the foundations of multilateral governance. And we as elders will be working closely on AI governance and
partnerships between governments and private sector. President Boko, if you would mind to give us the final words for this session. Thank you.
Well, it remains for me to thank everybody. We need digital infrastructure across the breadth and dimensions of the African continent, something that we have a deficit of. We need energy, and we have sources that are abundant in clean energy in Africa, and we need to harness. We need to develop skills. We need to work together, and we need to infuse our own ethics, our own languages in solving the most pressing and trenchant problems that afflict our communities. And I have absolutely no doubt, not the slightest doubt in my mind, we have the talent. It's amazing. We have the skills, the expertise, and I think also the will. And so what we need to do now is get to action and get things done. And so I thank you very much for the privilege of your company here today and the pleasure of your kind attention and active participation. Thank you.
And we cannot speak after the President. The meeting is closed.